But the funny thing is when I stop the recording, you can see down here.
I think probably the biggest service that it fulfilled was this idea of bringing people together. If you look at the evolution of mobile over the 10 years that it's existed, one thing that you will see is that if you look back to 2011, 2012, 2013, people were starting to experiment in kind of little silos and organizations, and we were starting to share and spar with each other about solutions and things on social media. But there was no real event that was really focused on or dedicated to this community and what it could be. So the idea, the concept behind MojoCon 1 back in 2015, actually I had the concept in 2013, but 2015 was when it finally happened, was that idea of bringing the community together. For once, let's try and bring in all the people who are thought leaders and pioneers and trying things that will be valuable to share.
Using the camera,
And I think the premise of that first event has carried over for all 5. And that's the essence of it, that community, that willingness to share, as opposed to be protective and to try and dominate it. It's the absolute opposite. It's people coming and sharing their knowledge and their failures, which is brave, but hugely valuable. And I think that's the bit that will continue online and in the Facebook community online and in other events that have spun off from this one as well.
Stories are sometimes found in unexpected places.
Everything I know about mobile filmmaking, it's kind of been learned from using other cameras. So my understanding of composition and of framing and of sequences, I was doing that with bigger cameras anyway. I have just treated the phone as another kind of camera. Now the challenge and the opportunity and the excitement for me about this way of working is that it has challenged me as a storyteller as well. It's challenged me to think the kind of stories I want to tell, the kind of stories that there's an appetite for. As a storyteller who spent most of my career working for television, I kind of liked the challenge and the idea of how do I make my stories work on different platforms. That became an interesting and exciting and an invigorating thing for me. And yeah, I use technology in what I do, but before anything else, I'm a storyteller. I'm just interested in telling stories. I can get technology to work in a certain way to do what I need it to do, but if you ask me to dissect why it's doing that, I'm the wrong person for that.
Are there stories, though, that you wouldn't have had the access to with the larger gear?
I certainly think that one of the advantages of Mojo is that because it is such familiar technology, it's universal technology, it can take you places and bring you into lives that perhaps you would get a different experience if I rock up with a camera crew, a big camera and lights. Not that we ever have lights anymore, but that's a different kind of relationship that you're going to have with your subject. If it is just me and my phone and the various bits of Mojo kit that I have, that's a different kind. I'm trying to tell a different kind of story anyway. I'm trying to make this work with the technology that I'm using. But I do think for the subject, it's not intrusive. It is quite personal. There's a relationship between us.
We got a visitor!
All 2,500 pounds of him.
It was my idea to bring Wild Thing in the house when he was a calf.
It's all about the story. What I tell my students is, I don't want reporters, I want storytellers. And I don't care if it's a hard news story or a fire or a car accident or a feature. It's all about the human connection. We're all human. And so I would say, as you write the story, to make sure that you have the human connection, whether it be one person or a couple of people, a focused story that involves, because we're all human and we all are emotionally attached somehow. For 20 years I was a reporter. I never picked up a camera. I did it in Los Angeles, I did it in Dallas. And then my boss came up to me one day in Dallas and said, could you go shoot a 2-minute story for the evening news with your phone? All of our crews are busy. It was a renowned artist in town, and I said, well, I don't know. So I cobbled some gear together. This was before the first Mojo Fest, by the way. And it came out okay. And then me taking things to the extreme, I expanded that into a half-hour show. I wanted to see if I could do it. And then now I'm on the 5th half-hour show. So I don't know. I mean, it was just something that creatively that I wanted to do, and I didn't have to rely on anybody else.
In Palestine, Texas, there was a time when weeds were more likely to grow around gas pumps than around the railroad tracks.
Oh, well, when something comes in like right now, I'll be heading to Dallas right after Ireland here, and I know a story that I'm going to be doing, and I'm already thinking about it. So I think about it now. I think about it on the way there, and then of course it'll change when I get there, but at least I have some idea of how to go about it. And I think that's, you know, if you have a plan, you could be flexible with the plan, but at least you have a plan.
So I should export the landscape version first, and then go and do, so just
work out what you want to do with an app. Then you want to decide how much you're prepared to spend. It's very tempting to get a free app or only to use the apps that come with your device. But more often a free app is going to be probably less powerful. It may have a watermark. It may use up more of your battery power. It may use more of your processing power. So while it's tempting to get a free app, you might have to bite the bullet and buy the app. Some people say, well, I can't afford to buy an app, but it's the price of a cup of coffee. It's a couple of bucks, often for a single purchase. However, many apps these days have a subscription model where you have to pay several bucks a month, sometimes $10 a month, hopefully in return for new features each month, but not every developer does that. But nevertheless, it is still the case that it tends to be you get what you pay for. If you only buy free apps, you're not going to get the quality of an app that you pay for. Well, Android is really a very good platform these days. Maybe 5 years ago I wouldn't have said that with a smile on my face. But these days there are some very, very good apps on Android, such as KineMaster, which is a fantastic editing app. You've got Filmic Pro, which is now working on most Android apps, most Android devices. That's part of the problem. I can't say it's going to work on every single Android device because there are so many Android devices out there. But generally the Android ecosystem has really improved in the last few years. The only place where it's slightly still not so good is audio editing. So there is a fantastic app on iOS called Ferrite for audio editing. Does not exist. There's nothing of its kind on Android. Apps are exciting. Kit is exciting. But I think it still needs to be the storytelling. It still needs to be what makes a good story. Have I got a good story to tell? Am I telling people something they don't know? Am I going to keep their interest in the story? Have I got a good character who's going to tell my story? Because you can use apps and clever functionality to make the story look good, but ultimately, if you haven't filmed it well, if you haven't got a good choice of shots, if you've not recorded it with good light, if you've got poor sound, you're going to be telling a bad story. So you've got to make sure you get the fundamentals correct with the good characters and the good story arc before you dress it up with all sorts of apps and exciting elements like that.
There's a really, really good core community, I think, at the heart of this, of maybe 30, 40 people who are doing it every day, who really are pushing the boundaries genuinely, and who are willing to share their experiences and their expertise with people who are interested in coming to where they are and understanding their journey. And you know, I mean, that's the best I could have ever hoped for, to be honest.